Now we're going to pivot a little bit. Remember, we're looking through multiple perspectives, or we use the metaphor of lenses. And I think we're going to focus now on the technology lens. So let me just bring up a diagram, and we'll sort of set the scene here in terms of our shift to focus more on the technology. So assuming you all can see, is that working?
Yep. Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So this is not to scare anybody. This is really to give a kind of a visual and get people thinking. So Nicole and I had a nice conversation last week with Dion Hinchcliffe, who created this diagram, and he creates lots of these things actually that are, you know, some of them quite mind-blowing, and others you just look at and you go like, oh, now I see how I can explain this to my executives. So hopefully this is one of those ones that you can look at and say, ah, I see what's going on here. When you're looking at the digital employee experience, it really is like a journey. It's like you picture people on a road and they're progressing through all of these things from recruiting all the way to departure. And then Diane's got this particular one is focusing on, hey, how are things changing because of all the abnormal things that have happened with the pandemic in 2020? What's going to shift now in terms of that journey? Maybe it's going to diverge a little bit of the new elements. The thing that he really called out on this, though, then I think is a really good focus for us to think about as we go forward with the rest of today and tomorrow is the employee experience platform. If you look at that little layer there, and it looks nice and neat and tidy in this diagram, you think, oh, well, that's good. We'll just layer that on and we'll be all set. And the problem is that it doesn't really exist in a sense of a way that many organizations can simply do it. It's a nice little description of what is needed, but the reality of how to enable that and bring it to life is actually really difficult. And I think that's a lot of what we're going to be talking about over the next couple of days.
Yeah, so one of the comments in the chat brings that out as well. So someone says, what do you do when HR itself is often challenged to provide a unified point of view? You've got silos, so HR in itself is a silo, and then you've got silos within HR, and that's, you know, something that lots of people will struggle with. And it's just, you know, by this sort of learning and by just keeping, I don't know, we've said it before, you know, bringing those light bulb moments and trying to give people real life examples that maybe eventually we'll get through, you know, bit by bit, really, and just keep it at it, really.
Yep, I'll make the obligatory 2020 apology. If you hear whining in the background, it's not me, it's my dog. He's decided to fuss with his toys. So Nicole, why don't you take us into the next session? We're going to start talking about the illuminate part of the story.
Yeah, and we'll put a link to this diagram in chat, so if people want to look at this or any of the more scarier ones that Dion Hinchcliffe has done that are much more complicated, then please feel free. Lots of them are Creative Commons, and you can just use them in your own organization as well. So now we're going to look at Beezy's perspective. So I'll introduce Maximo Castagno, Chief Product Officer from Beezy. So Maximo, after seeing Dion's diagram, what has changed for you in the last 6 months as you talk and work with your clients?
Yes, thank you everyone, and thank you for having me here. I would say that a lot has changed. Of course, all of us have been kind of preaching for changes in the way that people work for a very long time. And then suddenly all the changes came at once in a very rapid movement. So everything really changed very quickly for all of us. I still remember that we had slides in our product presentation. So when we were pitching our product to a customer or to at an event or something like that, we were often comparing the importance of physical workplace as opposed to the digital workplace. And everyone was normally attending this presentation in a fancy office with a lot of intentional, nice built spaces and buildings, and with a very thoughtful branding application in the entire building. And then suddenly we were turning their eyes into the digital experience and the digital employee experience. And we were often referring to that experience as having to play a big catch up when it comes to support the same culture, the same engagement, the same kind of values and branding and everything. And that slide, I don't have it anymore. So I don't need to compare the importance of the digital employee experience with the importance of the physical experience in an office building, in a headquarters, anywhere. That has completely been removed from the conversation. And that makes a big change in our product, the way that we present the product. So that's an interesting change. And then also as a product person, so I lead the product in Beezy. I'm in charge of the roadmap and the features and everything. Of course, we had to react very quickly to these changes, very important changes that we've lived the last 6 months, I would say. And you all have seen how quick products like Zoom and Teams had to evolve and then support backgrounds and funny backgrounds and blurring backgrounds in a very rapid innovation pace. We had the same. So we are about to launch a few components that were kind of cooked during this period to accommodate the product to the what we normally call the push and pull balance in the digital workplace. So yeah, that changed also a lot on the product direction in the last month.
Okay, so if you're the chief product officer, how do you decide on that sort of product roadmap and the features and things like that? What data do you collect, or is it just through speaking to clients, or how do you do that?
Yeah, I think here resonates a lot what Neil explained before about talking to users, and also try to make sure that you talk to end users, employees. So that's something that we take very, very into account in Beezy. I'm myself a sociologist. I'm not a technical guy. My background is in sociology. My background is in trying to understand people when they explain things and problems that they have, and then kind of aggregate multiple small problems into what's going on for most of them. So that's our approach. It's a very user-centric approach. It comes from old-style software design, I would say, but very, very relevant today and very relevant when it comes to the enterprise and the digital workplace and the digital experience. So that's part of the question. Of course, we develop our features together with customers as well. We are very happy to have very large organizations that sometimes force us to go into things that can be tried out at a very large scale. So we take that opportunity and we are a bit innovative, and we push the envelope, and we try to be also courageous on that front as well. So that's how we think, and that's more or less how I get to decide the roadmap and the features.
Do you think employees want more and more tools then, and more features?
Definitely not.
Another
thing that came up quite a lot in the chat and also in discussions, and it keeps coming back, it's the amount of tools that employees have to deal with nowadays. And it was a problem 5 years ago. It's kind of a big problem today. This is what I call the paradox of choice. There is a lot of information about this kind of sociological or psychological problem that happens to humans. If you have too much choice, you will suffer. You will not take a good decision about what you want to do. You will still all the time think about other options to do other things. And this is behavioral science that is very well proven in marketing and in other areas. And I think it's somehow becoming a problem in the digital employee experience as well. I don't think that users and employees today need more tools. I think that kind of the basic tool set is already there. You can replace one tool with another one. You can replace OneDrive with Dropbox. You can change a few suppliers. But employees really are not asking for more tools. I think that actually they're asking for less tools. And Ted, a comment before about this employee experience layer, it's a layer of trying to simplify things. And that's what we also try to do with Beezy. We have a product that works on a platform. Beezy only works on SharePoint and on Office 365. And one of the mandates, one of my job, a big part of my job is to try to hide the complexity of the tools and sometimes hide some tools completely. So yeah, definitely something that needs a lot of progress on that front. Yeah.
You told me a story when we first spoke a few weeks back about Jacob Nielsen and what he was trying to do when he tried to stop developers developing for a couple of months. I thought that was quite funny.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to share it.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, but at the same, I think he was quite serious. So Jacob Nielsen is one of the founders of the Nielsen Norman group, which is actually very focused as well on intranets from a long time ago. And they have this award every year, etc. He's kind of a guru of user experience, and he has been for a very long time trying to opening the eyes of people a bit too focused on the technology side of things. And I think it was last year or 2 years ago, he did something that was taken as funny, but I think it was quite serious. He said, hey, why don't all the developers in the world, all the products out there in the world, why can't we call for a moratorium of new features? Why can't you just stop creating new features and fix bugs and issues and small design and user experience details for a while? I mean, he was not saying, hey, stop progressing with your roadmap, don't ship any more features. He just said, why don't we have kind of a sprint or a month of a quarter or something like that of a moratorium for software development, go and fix what you have today, as opposed to ship new features and bombard the users with novelty and new things and new way of doing things. And I think that was quite interesting as a proposal. Of course, it stayed kind of as a joke. I still wait for the time when this is going to be, there is this month where you need to leave your mustache in November.
November, yeah.
But that became a reality, and I'm still waiting for the Nielsen idea to become a reality as well.
That's a great story to finish on, and it's quite funny because it's got lots of hand clapping and positive comments in the chat. So I think that resonates with a lot of people too. So that's great. Thanks very much for that input, Maximo, and we're really looking forward to hearing you speak longer tomorrow. Yeah, thank you.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Over to you, Ted.
And see if we have any questions. Nicole, if we have questions coming in the chat.
Yeah, so we've got lots of statements coming in, and people are having it's like a party going on in chat, actually. Everyone's just agreeing with everybody. Hopefully there's going to be lots of connections made, so that's quite good. But I think that people are saying what a lot of it boils down to is that employees don't really much care, and I think that in some of the slides that was coming out as well, that really we've just got to look at what the employee wants to do rather than where they go, and they're not really looking at they're not really worried about experience layers or any of these things. We've got to do that thinking for them and surface things that they need to do. And there were some interesting things about deskless workers as well. So like whether it's manufacturing people, I mean, quite often when we have these discussions, we're talking about office-based workers, but really we need to start thinking wider than that. And I think that is happening, where we're looking at workers that use mobile technology. And I know that DWG has done some research on that and how to focus that employee experience or the benefits really of a better employee experience to them. So they just want to find and get things done in the short break they have from any sort of production lines or wherever they're working without having to worry about learning navigations to many systems, which they may not access that often. So that's quite interesting, and it'd be quite interesting to put that out to our panel really and our experts on this call today to see what they think about that.
Yeah, let me quickly chime in on the deskless topic, because it's interesting that just a few months ago, and kind of with the right timing before the pandemic that we're living, we created a complete feature set around accessing deskless workers, especially around the facilities and places where the users will not always identify themselves on a personal level. Beezy is a product that is very much built into the social logic, right? There is a lot of interactions, comment, mentions, etc. And we were quite challenged by the reality of these deskless workers, that sometimes in some manufacturing industries, in some retail industries, etc., they will not even sign in to Office 365. So we don't know who they are. So how can we keep a system of communication, collaboration, and engagement alive and be inclusive with all these workers, frontline workers or shop floor workers, etc. So we developed something quite sophisticated to cater for these use cases, and we were, frankly, I was very happy to see that some of our largest customers, especially around manufacturing, heavy industries, that throughout the pandemic managed to keep these workers very well informed and connected and even engaged